Without further ado, round of applause for Devon.
All right. Well, we're very excited to be here. You do not have to wait till the end for questions. This can be a very informal thing. Got a couple of things here for you. It's always interesting to us who's in the audience, so it's really nice getting to go around. Sounds like there's a bit of business here. There's a bit of nonprofit here. There's a bit of SaaS toolings here. We're going to go over, we've got several different presentations and workbooks that we do at whether it's a code conference or a startup event. If you go to codebuddy.com and you actually go /library, you can see a lot of our workbooks, including the one that I'm going to go over today, which is Dev Different. So you're welcome to go on there if you've got a computer. You're welcome to download it now and follow along, or you can go check out it at a different date. We do have some other ones here. Some are a little more technical, like the Building Better Software Faster gets a little more into some higher level coding concepts. Building the Right Feature is a great one about usability testing. We'll touch base about that as well. And then we've got another one down here for building an MVP, which is much more SaaS oriented if you're looking to build out and test a SaaS product. So I'm going to go. Unfortunately, these are a little awkward because they're in portrait landscape, so on a horizontal computer, because we do like to do these as more of workbooks. They're a little more like detail-oriented than just a slide. But I've got this presentation here, too, that I can give for maybe 15 to 30 minutes. I can go through it pretty fast, too, as well. And then we've also got we are a company, Codebuddy, that we've got a full AI software studio that helps someone that is less technical build. And it does the whole process. Unlike a Cursor or Copilot or a Windsurf that just help you with specifically the code editing process, we help you with the entire process. So it's a one-stop tool where you can download it. It sets up all of the tools that you need. It helps you plan your software with AI. It helps you manage your software using task management. And then it also helps you build your software. It's our own code editor. We're not a wrapper on any existing code editor. And then also does all of the deployment stuff to you. So when you're ready to push it to a test or a production environment for other users to use, we do all of that in one tool as well. And we also have a network of code buddies that help support individuals in that effort. So a little bit about myself. Serial entrepreneur. I've been doing this for about 24 years. This is my third software company, my seventh whatever company, and full stack engineer. Our team came together. We were building wiretapping software for the federal government. There were 4 of us who kind of spun off. The company got acquired, and we wanted to create a better way for building software. Associated with a lot of different entrepreneurial organizations, Generator, Pipeline. I went to UNL College of Law. I got an undergraduate degree in computer science and been a software engineer for about 12 years now. Okay, so quick preview of the presentation. I want to do a little bit of highlight of what is software becoming? Because as you've known in the past couple years, there has been a dramatic change in what AI can do. The second thing is, why is software so hard to build? And then getting into the next conversation, which is, all right, how can you fix that? It sounds like a lot of you are starting to enter into software ventures or want to be more skilled in software or helping other clients with different software ventures. So some of these tools and tactics might help. And then I would love to share our platform because it is possibly specific to what a lot of you guys are doing. So we could spin up a really quick project and build in just a matter of minutes here, and then questions and answers, of course. And like I said, feel free to interrupt me along the way as I go through this. So, future of software. What is software becoming? So we see 2 main things in the software world right now. Is the first one being obviously speed. So speed is dramatically changing the way that companies can profit from software. It used to be in the past, you'd take 12 to 18 months to build the software. You'd have a full stack team. You could take your time, to actually roll out and release this because there weren't a lot of other companies doing that. Nowadays, we're seeing companies that built in a year to 18 months building tools, that same tool in a matter of weeks. they're going incredibly fast. There was actually a study that came out by McKinsey and Company that said companies that have faster software developer velocity can actually move faster, have 5 times the revenue of their competitors. So it's a little bit of a speed game right now, while obviously you still have to keep quality in the picture. And then because of that speed game, speed and cost are very related too. What AI is able to do now is it's able to help companies that once could never afford software for their specific company, or even individuals or nonprofits that could never afforded software for their particular use, to be able to build something for their benefit right now. So. And then the next thing I always like to talk about is, with a group, regardless of the technicality, is why is software so hard to build? Why is everyone so afraid of this, or why has it taken so long? And what are the things that can improve that? So I've probably worked on 20, 25 software projects before. I've seen software projects go like 200% over budget, like millions of dollars over budget, and like literally then get shelved because they didn't hit the right market, they were too late, they ran out of money, etc. And I've seen a lot of smaller softwares get built too as well, and I've seen constantly the problem between, all right, what does the owner want to build, what does the developer think the owner wanted to build, and then what the customer actually wants to build. And it's like lining up circles and boxes and getting those perfectly all aligned together, and it's a really difficult thing to do, and probably causes one of the biggest problems in actually software. So there's frame alignment, there's things like edge cases. When you're building out software, it's always very important to think of like, all right, what are those specific edge cases that we aren't thinking with a particular requirement? Like if you need a tool to upload an image, what happens if your customer uploads a 20 gigabyte image? That makes it seem like your actual software is broken, but that's actually an edge case where that's not the normal amount that someone's uploading. But how do you take those things and how do you actually account for those edge cases? And then software is always a moving target too as well. So a lot of people like to go in and they like to, take a Figma or an Adobe Illustrator and spend, months and months building out these beautiful mock-ups of what the entire software should look like. And then they get to building the feature and they run it across the customer, and the customer is like, that's great, but what I really want is this. And then they just voided that entire, month of work that they were doing because now they got to go to a completely different course. So. The next big thing that makes software really hard to build is what we call the technical chasm. So there's a lot of people that are non-technical, and then there's quite a few people that are technical. And there's not a lot of people that are in between. And what this does is when you have these two different varying worlds that are speaking very different languages, is it creates a lot of problems. Not only with miscommunication with actual project you're building, but other problems such as frustration between those two people, actually even being able to communicate together and having a positive company. Hey, Alyssa, what's up? And most of the times what it does is for a less technical person, it makes them feel like they're being held hostage throughout the entire process, because they have to rely on a developer, someone that's very technical, to be able to build this, and they have no clue what's going on, and they have no control to be able to help them throughout the process. They don't know where the code's at, they don't know where the keys are at. If that person leaves, that person's in a critical path to their actual success as an organization. So that's another one, and we'll address kind of ways to fix this too as well. The third one we always like to talk about too is the mythical man month. So one of the biggest problems with software is you can't just throw resources at software and expect it to go faster. And the reason that there is kind of a very simple illustration is the more people that you are involved in the software, the more layers of communication you have. And then it's also very similar to construction. You can't put 10 different trades in one room because the room's going to be crowded and they're going to be stepping on each other's toes.
Is there a methodology that I'm working with a software app right now that's made it very easy to connect our contacts or everyone that you have and organize them? And and share.
Yep.
And I'm just looking and trying to piece together how can I help my community have free access to more carpet cleaning. And so on a referral basis, I'm looking at 10% of what they refer can come back to where they can get more carpet cleaning. Because if they have to spend less, they can get more. Or however that keeps working, but why not for plumbers? If there's a percentage that makes sense for a company that we could work with, where we could help more people get their services for free, because why would they use it? That's my only question when we're developing an app, engagements. Because even Facebook groups, why would you use it? Well,
yeah.
That's the trial, when they shelve it because no one's using it.
Correct, yeah. There's a lot of good content about specifically what you're talking about in that building an MVP workbook, which goes after, it sounds like what you're really trying to pursue is validation and engagement, and how do you test out what people are going to build and what you should use. So I would check out that workbook. I'm happy to talk with you more about it afterwards too as well. So, and then the last section we have, really why software is really hard, is the brain drain too as well. So every time you add a new person onto a software project, it takes that person a long time to actually get ramped up in what they're actually doing. And so you see the beginning of their stages is it's actually a negative efficiency to your company. When you add someone, you're going to have to train them. They're not going to actually build something. They're going to actually start being efficient. But what happens is with software, because of a lot of the technical miscommunication and burnout, is they will leave you. And so you will lose all that information that you invested in that person. You'll have to do that process over again, and it's almost a zigzagging method. Versus if you kept that same person, you'd be able to accomplish that software task in half the actual time. So you're probably wondering, why are we going all of these problems? Is because next we're going to talk about what are some of those solutions in the software game for fixing those. So. Okay, now we're on to the solutions, which we call the dev different. And the first one we always like to really force or communicate with people and push them on is making sure that they have ugly starts. And what ugly starts means is that you're not trying day one to be the Ferrari of the software tool that you're trying to build. Here's a really good example of what Twitter first looked like when Twitter came out. It was literally just a text input box that you could type a message to, and it actually didn't even function. It actually just sent them a form, and then their back-end people got on their phones and tweeted it out to this Excel spreadsheet list of people that they had on the Twitter, and that was their first early start. That too as well. So we always caution customers and people we're working with is don't worry about making this look pretty. Everyone's we're going to be so embarrassed by this first release. And if you're not embarrassed by the first release you've had, then you've released way too late. So the early releases are all about testing functionality in your app. So the next one is very similar to what I just said, is don't design too far ahead. So this is exactly like the ugly starts. Is a lot of times customers will send us these huge mock-up boards, and is I've got months and months planned out of my actual software app. I know where every button's going to be, where every interaction is going to be, and then like I said, we get to week one of actually building this out. They test it, and they realize one of their hypotheses was incorrect, and they have to completely pivot to something different. And all that work they did just gets thrown away. So really, you'll hear the word agile development, but really, start small, figure out that first early feature, and then expand from that feature. The next big thing that we like to do, which is different than a lot of software companies, this is a model that we kind of helped invent, was the concept of retrospective design. So a lot of the traditional design, as we talked about, goes with high resolution mockups, and then you build that functionality. And in the past, you had to go to a dev shop and spend, $200,000 to $600,000. You had to find some, freelancer that you would work with for a while, and then they would ghost you, and so you would have to find someone else. You would have to find some sort of technical developer that would be very difficult to actually communicate with. So what we do nowadays is we do kind of a reverse process of this, where we will either through AI ride, we'll actually have our users or us, we'll build out the functionality first. So we'll have a very basic working diagram of what should actually be built. And then once that functionality is built and we're testing it internally or testing it with customers, we will actually come back and design it. We'll come back and we'll make it look pretty. We'll come back and improve the user experience for it, because we heard people say, yeah, this is great, but what I don't like is having to wait for this. And then we'll go and we'll do another round of really quick development on it. Because the first round, building out that functionality, is usually the toughest part. Modifying the user experience, or making it look pretty, is a lot quicker to do. So, and a big thing what this does do is it doesn't hold up your developers. A lot of developers get held up, or softwares get held up because you're waiting on building those mock-ups. Don't wait on that. Just jump in and get going. And then the next thing we talked a little bit about of this is a little similar to the Twitter story, but we call this the Wizard of Oz functionality. Don't wait to have the entire application functional before you actually release it. So the way Twitter did it was they had just a text box. It sent an email to their internal team. Their internal team had a CSV list that then they texted everybody just with their regular phones. Another good story is Zappos here, where they actually, everyone's familiar with Zappos, $1 billion company now. They started by just taking pictures of shoes, and they went out and they created just like a Wix site or a Webflow site that, and they went to stores and they took pictures of shoes. They put it on their site. Someone would buy their shoes. They would have to have an intern or someone drive to the store, go buy the stores, then drive to FedEx, ship the shoes to FedEx. That person would return it to get the right size, and then they would have to go back, return the shoes to stores, go back to FedEx and actually redeliver it. And what they did is they lost a lot of money, but they ended up validating $1 billion idea, which is, will people buy shoes online without having to actually go to the store to try it? And so they built out, the Wizard of Oz, functionality features, and then once they validated the actual concept, then they spent money on developers. They were able to go raise because they had all this data that their Wizard of Ozing was successful, and then moved on. We talked about a little bit about frame alignment. How do you get everyone's expectations to line up in the right order so they're stacked on top of you? That's the product owner, the visionary, that's the developer, and then it's even the customer too as well. How do you get all those to line together? And these are kind of just some really quick ways that we use as an organization. We sell to customers, which is the first one is focus on the why behind the feature. Everyone likes to get really prescriptive and focus on what it should look like and how it's going to operate and how it's going to do. But if you communicate the why to your developers and the why to your customers, then you're more likely to be aligned on what the actual result is. Next one is work in user stories. I'm not sure if you're familiar with user stories. This is probably harder to read, but a user story is, as a, X, I want to be able to, take this action so that I receive some value. So as, a plumber, I want to be able to log on the app and see all of my, components so that I can select my component that I purchased for my customers. And what it does is it takes the idea of being prescriptive on what the actual solution is and goes back to just defining, all right, what is the actual problem, who is the user, and what does the actual value need to end up looking like. And a lot of times if you communicate that way, you will actually get completely different solutions built by the development team. They will actually be better than what you had originally imagined. Working in short iterative feedback cycles too as well. We like to do week or 2 week sprints with the software companies or developers we work with, and that's just simply a way so that your developers don't trail off into something that you aren't wanting them to do, or working on something, or taking too long to deliver a certain feature or value. Acceptance criteria, that's simply just being very detailed with when you need the user story to do something, what are those acceptance? So if I need a user to be able to upload an image so that they can share some story about their life with, with their family and improve their family relationships. I want to also add acceptance criteria of like, all right, that image, it needs to be able to handle at least a 50 megabyte image. It needs to be able to upload that image within, 12 seconds. And then we'll show you this with Ride, but a great way to do a lot of this now and provide additional details without you spending like weeks and weeks on this is just using AI to help flesh out those requirements. Another big thing about making software go, we talked about the mythical man month, the more people you put on a team. This is what really old software organizations struggled with. But we highly recommend is trying to keep your team small as possible. So we see a lot of software companies that used to have 10, 12 developers that are building those same tools now with 2, 3, 4 developers. So I know a lot of you are getting started, so that doesn't really apply to you, but utilizing the AI and experts so that even if you're just one person, you now are a team of 4 or 5 people right off the bat. And this is another tool we do too as well. I don't know if any of you are using ChatGPT or trying to build out your own tool, and you get to something that is very tricky, and you're like, man, this is not helping me with that. We helped derive a concept called micro contracting. This was actually one of the first products and businesses we came after. It's a very simple concept. Take that very technical task and send it out to a freelancer. So you're not getting them to do your whole project. You're having them take a specific chunk of what you need to be done and ask them very specifically, like, I don't need you to build me a whole app. I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to demonstrate in code how to do this exact concept and tell them the exact technology stack that you're actually building in. Yep.
So in that type of situation, when you're working with the freelancer for that technical task, is it once you get the specific code or whatever deliverable from that freelancer, are you then taking it back to AI to maybe fine-tune?
Correct. In some of the cases, you can be so explicit for them what they need to build that you can actually just take it and plug it directly into your code. And sometimes if it doesn't, you can also take the solution back to an AI and help you integrate it with. What we do with we have a very specific platform that has a very specific technology stack that we work with. We'll actually send that freelancer that technology stack definition, and actually we've got this starter kit so they can actually build directly onto that so that we know it's going to integrate directly with their code. So this is if you don't have a ton of resources, you can't hire every single development specialist that you're working on. This is a really good way of building cost efficiently. And then the last one is usability testing, and I cannot stress this so much. This is probably where I've seen the most companies fail, is they build something but then they fail to actually go out there and test it. And they think they've got this great idea and great mindset of what it should be, but we are all a sample of one. And until you go out there and test it with users, you're never going to know if what you're building is actually going to hit. And another problem is that as you get more and more into your company, you're less and less likely to represent the actual user, because you're so into it, you know exactly what's been going on because you've been working on it so long. But then once you take it to a user, the user's like, I have no clue what this even is or how to actually use what I'm doing here. So we have a separate workbook. It's on that library. It's called Building the Right Features, that specifically goes into the usability testing section and how to do it. It's very simple. You don't have to interview 100 people. They say within interviewing 3 to 5 people, you can gather 86 of the patterns that you need to understand about your software. So you can do it once a month, you can do it once a quarter. You sit down with 3 to 5 individuals, you sit next to them, or you can Zoom them, as long as you can see their face and they can share their screen and you can see what they're doing. And you literally just have them use your app. And the most important thing is you give them the ability to be honest and critical, and then you don't stop them when they fail. Because the failures is what you're trying to learn from the thing. It's not sitting them and then telling them, oh, if you just go click that button, that's what you were supposed to do. It's seeing, did they find that button that you were supposed to do? And if they didn't find that button that they were supposed to find, why didn't they find that button? And how long did it take them to actually find that button? And if it took them a long time, you probably need to put that button somewhere else and change the name of that button. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to make very small tweaks. It's not about redoing the whole app or revalidating your whole app. It's like, what are those very small tweaks that you can do to help with your software? And that's the quick talk. We have a dev different. I've got some like pages here in that workbook about like our actual software, but I'd be happy to just like pull up our software too, and we can build something. But I want to stop for questions first.
So could you talk a little bit about like, I'm using Lovable a lot right now.
Yeah.
Like just to like mess with stuff. Could you talk a little bit about, are you kind of sort of a similar service in a way?
I can show you.
Yeah,
That's probably better,
Okay.
and we can talk about the differences.
Cool. Okay.
And I'd love to get your feedback on
Okay.
it too, so as well.
So when you get the option to download an app, so on the mobile devices or any devices, would you like to download the app? I'm not sure what computers are these days, but I'm sure there's apps on computers too.
Yeah.
So it's like, is that like one of those prompts that we're trying to get people to download the app? Because I'm just thinking that if I can make it for people easier to, like why is it hard to sell my company?
Yeah.
Obviously it is. I mean, so I'm just like, why are my customers, they're doing a lot of referrals and like, you gotta go talk to this person. It's like, as far as just like, if we were trying to get something done really well, you gotta go find them.
Yep.
But that's where I'm just like, is that kind, like obviously it's like, there's a way to make it easier to do business or refer people to our businesses.
Yeah.
So is that where the app is, like, can we link it to our phones then, or our contacts to send out?
Are you talking about building an app with Ride? I'm not fully understanding your question.
How do you usability to share the app, market it? Because everything great that's built, even books that are written, aren't being sold appropriately.
Yeah. You're talking about if you build an app, how do you appropriately share or market the app? It's a very difficult thing. I mean, a lot of people will build these massive $1 million apps and they'll go out and they'll hear like crickets, and they say. And so, we always talk about, 3 things you got to test. You got to test first desirability. Does someone want what you're building? Then you got to test feasibility. Can you actually build what they're doing? And then the last thing you got to test is profitability. Can you actually profit from what you're actually doing? And people like put those in the wrong order. They focus too much on profitability first, where it's really like, how do you get customers out there? And we always like to say like 1-star reviews are better than crickets. Because 1-star reviews means someone cared and wanted to go in and download your app and try it out. And you can always fix the experience, but you can't fix if nobody wants to actually use your app. And it's a very difficult thing. One thing we really had to learn as an organization too, we were 4 software engineers coming into this, and we just like loved building product. And one of the things we realized is, you can't just build it and expect them to come. So we had to literally have this pie chart in our organization to make sure that we were spending 50% of our time on sales and marketing for our tool. Like, building is great. Building is only half of the actual problem. The other problem is actually going out and selling it. And so then, Tanner can talk a little bit about, you can jump in on sales and, growth too as well. But we really had to figure out, all right, what are the channels for, getting the word out about our tool, and, how do we bring people in? So.
Yeah, like to address your question specifically. Sorry, I just wanted that. So it doesn't matter necessarily how good your product is if no one adopts it. So what you need to do is go out and find like, where is your user base at, and what kind of devices are they using? Do they want it being like a web app, a download app, a Windows app, like a Mac OS? Are they all on Android, or are they wanting iOS native? All of those things. Those are all decisions that you need to start gathering data on, and then define. And we talk about this in the MVP stage a lot too. Like, who's your ideal customer profile? How are those things? And then start building, for those, interviewing those people and going through on it. So, I mean, there's a lot of a lot of stages in the startup for doing those things. But again, the big thing is, you can start building small, start getting it in front of who you assume maybe is your ideal customer profile. Then you get in front of them and you realize, heck, none of these people have money. So like you don't want to, then you pivot around on those things. So that's just the nature of the startup journey, which is great. Yeah.
I've experienced that with the Brave community.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, I'm gonna add one more point to that. The most important thing is you can do all that without spending $1, which most people don't realize. Most people will go out and spend $200,000 and then test it. There's this great like legendary Muffin Man story about this guy that pedals around town, and he's got a basket on it and it says muffins, and it says, he puts different prices on the baskets of muffins, and he goes to college, he goes to downtown, he goes to like the nursing home. And he screams, muffins for sale, come get my muffins, and then people will come up and he'll lift it out the basket and he'll reach for a muffin and he goes, oh man, I just sold out. I don't actually have any, like come back tomorrow. The guy never made any actual muffins. Yeah. His whole concept was to go around town and figure out, would people want to buy my muffins? Where should I go and sell my muffins? How should I price my muffins? How should I scream out and advertise my muffins? And which one had the greatest effect? And once he did that, then he was able to actually, went and made and sold his muffins. So there's a lot of cool, that MVP booklet has a lot of other really cool hacks to it as well.
Kind of going off the finding your user, back to like interviewing, like doing UX testing with users, or do you recommend finding those people and like you pay them for that?
Yeah.
How does that work?
We've done both. You try not to pay the individuals if you don't have to.
Or how do you incentivize them otherwise?
Yeah, you would be surprised. People like love to help out, especially in the Midwest. We are a very like nice culture, and to give you another little hack too as well is that a lot of people will use that as an opportunity, a sales opportunity too, because someone's not going to want to give you half an hour out of your time for you to sell them and for you to demo them. But what they'll do is they'll give you a half an hour of your time for them to help give you feedback on your actual product. So you're getting 2 for 1. You're getting actual feedback on your product, but they're actually getting exposure to your products. And a lot of times at the end of the testing, they'll say, wow, this is actually really cool. I want to can I use this? Is this like ready? How do I be this? And then they become like a champion too for you. So they're like spreading the word out there. So it just has many like great, uses for what you're doing. Your networks, we're very, become part of the Startup Academy, join an accelerator, come to events like this, reach out to your family and friends, post it on social media channels, say, hey, we're looking for, and you want to be very specific and make sure you're testing your users, not if you're testing dentists, you don't want to go interview your mom and be like, hey, check out my dental app. Being like, hey, you just post it and say, hey, we're looking for dentists, we're a Nebraska-based startup, we're looking for dentists to help usability test this. There's, all you have to do is give us, 30, 60 minutes of your time, no preparation or anything else required, and you would be surprised. And you only have to find 3 to 5. So it's not like you're having to go after hundreds at a time. People always think surveys are a great way to validate. But the problem with surveys is you don't know what questions to ask when you're really early on. So you'll send out those surveys and then you realize you should ask all these other questions, and it's too late by then. So by doing interviews, you can really follow down the rabbit hole of where that user wants to go.
Yeah, people are very generous with their time too, especially as you're getting up and going. Devin touched on why you want to have it kind of ugly to start, because you actually get real feedback then. If you spend a lot of time and you make it really beautiful and they can tell you put a ton of effort into this, they're going to be a little bit more reserved and tearing you down. But if it looks like, you just drew this on the back of a napkin really quick and you threw it at them, they're going to be like, oh yeah, well, you should be doing this. And wouldn't it be great if you had this? And again, that's all real data that you can take into account. You can take the nuggets that you want and disregard everything else, because again, you're trying to build an app that is for your ideal customer. So those are all big things that you can do with it. The other thing that people don't like to is also to be sold to. This is coming from a guy who does sales. If you feel actually very salesy, they don't like that. So a good approach of finding like who is your ideal customer and going to them and asking like, hey, I'd love for you to like give me some honest feedback on this. I've been building this here. And then if they actually like this solves a big problem for them, then that's when you actually get really early. People are like starting to want to open their wallets or start to get pilot programs. We see a lot of startups in the community, especially going through like accelerators, get these things. And I always have the line too of like, what happens if this works? It's not like what happens if it doesn't work, but what happens if it works? You know, then you can actually like build that, start getting real customers and start getting traction. And that's how you can get investors, team members, all of those things to really ramp yourself going.
Mary first and
Yes. So we run into this. We have an app, and it's costly to maintain because it has to be kept up to certain standards for Google and the Apple Store to release it. So we're looking at maybe doing some web-based.
Yep.
Like, what do you feel are there kind of pitfalls to both sides? What,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, we no longer do native web apps on Ride because you can do
Mobile apps.
Native mobile apps. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you. Native mobile apps. What we'll do is we'll do a progressive web app. So like you said, it's a web app that looks exactly like a mobile app. You can have a button on it on your phone. You can, the benefit of it is you don't have to pay 30% to Apple and Google Store to actually download the app. You can just have users pay you on that, web app.
it's not kept up to a certain code standard, they take it off.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
those ongoing problems, and I've been pushing to go to the web, but everybody's like, oh, but I want an app. And I'm like, they look the same. We can do this.
Correct.
And it'll be so much easier.
It'll actually be faster to download and use.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on it.
The only real benefit of the App Store is that some people discover you from the App
It's a big
Store.
marketplace, yep.
Yeah.
And it does add a little bit of like social capital, or you look more authentic, than just going to a website like, oh, is this secure? Is this the right thing? So if it's on Apple, it has that little bit. But like you said, there's just so many hoops you have to go through. And we were just at an event yesterday where they were talking about how they had to do, an Android native, iOS native. They had a Windows app, a Mac app, a web app, and then they had all these different things. And with that, it's just so much to maintain.
It is.
So you really need to be at a certain scale to justify those at that cost. And especially when you're in the startup stages, it's just like, okay, where is my ideal customer? And it could be the iOS app. Like there are a lot of those, like if you're making the next Tinder, people aren't, they're probably using iPhones or something like that. And so that's why a lot of those things will start on those, because that's where the users are. But again, you can start with a progressive web app. They actually make wrappers for them now to where you can still kind of get them on the stores and stuff like that too. So again, you're not starting from zero every time.
Okay, thank you.
Here, one quick one.
I was
Yeah.
going to ask you were talking about, what you're selling is the idea. Every entrepreneur, I'm sure we're all familiar with the E-Myth, but the idea, the visionary, can you touch on how you really are selling the end in mind?
I mean, you're ultimately selling a solution to a problem. No one's gonna like change the status quo unless it hurts. And so your real thing is like, you're trying to find with your carpet cleaning, you're not selling necessarily the cleaning, you're selling the frustration of it being dirty and how good their life is once it's clean. Or maybe it's, they get it clean regularly, but it's really hard to find a person to do it reliably and the consistency. So those are all the fundamental things when it comes to sale. It's like, what is the biggest pain point to the problem and what is the biggest solution to you can do that? What is the delta? The larger the delta, the easier it is to sell.
Follow up as well for the cleaning industry, if I could help, that's where the pain point is that people lose your contact. So if it's your plumber or hairstylist, they don't follow up with you or whatever, it's like we lose people because of, or we get busy or whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, you can test that. That's, it's a hypothesis off that. Is it really that hard to find a person now in the age of ChatGPT and Google? Perhaps. Is it hard just to get someone who reliably shows up on time? On those things as well. So, I mean, those are all the great things to start really testing in the market to identify, with real people, what is their biggest pain point. And, again, that just comes from conversations, getting in front of them, getting your hooks in, and then just finding real data.
So, we have maybe 10 minutes left, 10, 15 minutes? Is that right? Okay. Can you turn the lights off a little bit?
Yeah.
It might be a little, since it's in dark mode, it might be.
Oh, that's the wrong way.
There you go. So this is our Codebuddy app. We're not going to actually build it. We can actually build full features within a half an hour, but we only have 15 minutes. So I'm going to go through an existing feature that we built, and you can kind of get an idea of how it works. But you can go download it now. We only support Windows PCs right now. We are rolling out Mac support right now. If you do have a Mac, you can install a version of Windows Parallels and actually use our tool right now. Or you can also like contract with Codebuddy, and we'll find you a Codebuddy to just build it. So you don't have to have a PC, but if you're looking to actually use it yourself. You set up a workspace. A workspace will have all the different users you want to add to the project. We are pay-as-you-go billing, so you don't have to sign up for any subscriptions. You get there's like a $10 free AI credit, which will actually get you, I don't know, like 20, 30 hours. It's quite a lot of work on it. And then if you want to add more, all you have to do, you can add $10 more, you can add $100 more to actually build. You can set up to auto recharge the actual project. But here's a this is called Smart Swipe. We have an investor, Cultivation Capital, and they were introducing us to their Series A team. And an hour before the call, I said, hey, give me an app idea, and I actually built out the entire app idea for him in the call. But the goal of the app, you can see planning, actually building, and then publishing. We do all of the stages. Let me zoom this out a little bit. I can talk to the AI and tell it exactly what I want to build. It actually walks me through the questions of understanding about my app.
Yeah, what's great about the AI too is it's like just sitting beside a real human developer, but one that has infinite patience. They can tailor their responses to your skill level. There's no stupid questions or anything like that. And then they also are domain experts in basically everything. So you can rely on it and ask it a lot of questions. And what's really fun about it too is you don't have to be super prescriptive. Like, I want it one way and it, exactly like this. You can what do you think? Or how would you change these things? And how would you consolidate them together? Josh.
Have you heard of base 44 before?
Have not.
So you should look it up. It's probably, after hearing this a little bit, it's probably kind of the same car. It's the same industry in a way where you plug in what you want it to build and it'll visually build it for you in the software. So you might want to look into base 44.
Nice.
Oh, base 44. Yeah, There's quite a few different tools that are in straight there's kind of a few different markets. There's the one prompt market. Like, I have this idea and want to go through, and then they can build them. Lovable's a good one that does that. Replets, things like that. And then there are more that are a little bit more conversational. Our big difference that we're trying to do is, again, build a highly scalable full stack application that you can then build a true startup off of. Which may not be the best use for what you're trying to do as well. Like, maybe some that are quick proof of concepts or things that move a little bit faster are better for you in that moment. But yeah, it's definitely a big problem right now that lots of sites are trying to solve.
So you can see I talked to it. I actually asked it to change a workflow, and it was smart enough to know that I already had that change in it that I was trying to change in a different workflow, so it didn't let me do it. But you can talk to it to add workflows. You can talk to it as you learn more about your customers to modify existing workflows, and it will actually change those existing workflows. You can have it delete workflows. You can add it, add user requirements to a specific workflow that you're going to do. So this one, he specifically just wanted to add all of the, credit cards he had in his wallet and be able to go in and describe a purchase, and it go through AI and go to all those credit card sites and figure out all the perks and benefits of each card and help suggest which credit card he should actually use for that actual purchase.
Yeah. And before you click away, we have definitions up at the top right, as well as user types. What's really cool about this part of the application is it really becomes your source of truth for your project. So like Devon said, as you get user feedback and as things change, it's this place that everyone that on the team can go to and actually look at where we're at in the moment. So you really do feel like you're all in the boat rowing together, rather than the product team being ahead of the sales team, which is in a different place than your service team. Everyone can then look in these centralized spots and work together a lot more collaboratively. And then,
Yeah. Here's if I wanted to add a new user or something. See if it'll do
Yeah.
it right away.
The other thing that was really fun is like as you have these things, you're like, okay, yeah, what am I missing? You know, what kind of vulnerabilities maybe am I looking into, or what am I overthinking or not thinking about? And it'll start giving you different suggestions, and works pretty nice. And you can, sometimes it's way off base. You're like, yeah, we don't need to worry about that. But other times you're like, yeah, that's a good idea.
So you can see it's walking me through the actual uses, and then it'll pop up to actually make that coding change for my environment. So it's going to say I wanted a user type. I had just a single user. Now I wanted to add a user and an admin. And so I can either quickly accept that change, or I can like modify and provide feedback to it. I'm not going to accept that change. So this is the planning part. This is one of our like favorite parts of our users. They can go in there and they can spend hours. You don't have to actually even use any of the other tools for it. If you just want to go in there and use this to actually plan out your software and like enhance the strategic vision and value of your software, you can actually go in and do that as well. The next step we have is, we don't have any workflows to use, but the next step we have is our task management tool, where you can actually go in and you can manage the different software tasks that come off of each workflow. So it will take a workflow, something that's described in very easy to understand terms. It's by a less technical person, and it will break those down into actual technical software tasks that either you can work on or you can pass off to your developers. Mm-hmm. And then this is our actual coding tool, which looks very technical, but all you really have to do is talk to it, and it will actually make those code changes for you on the fly, propose those code changes.
Yeah, one thing we didn't, by not having a task to show up there though, is you really do get a really solid understanding of what you're asking for, whether that, like for a developer to build, whether that's a human developer or it's the AI that's going to be helping you. You can understand really the complexity of your app in terms of like development. So there's a lot of times where I talk to founders and they're like, oh man, this is going to be so hard. In reality, it's very quick and simple. Then there's other times it's like, it's easy, Tanner. It's just Palantir mixed with Airbnb, and you just put it all together, and you're like, you have no idea what you're asking for. And so by going through and actually like making them break down things into like workflows, how is this experience going to be, and then being able to have the AI generate those tasks, you have a much better understanding of like, what am I getting into when I'm building this software? Is this something that, yeah, it's pretty simple, we can crank it out here in 30 minutes? Or is this something like it's going to be a big endeavor? Is it going to be worth me wanting to invest going that path as a founder?
Yep. So I just wanted to say hello, Devon. It just popped up that change. I can accept that change, or I can provide feedback, and it will go, and then it will like auto refresh that change. And I don't know if this app is actually running or if it has errors.
What's really cool too is you can talk to the AI just like you would, again, a developer of this. This helps founders who aren't the developers to really understand how their app is built. You can ask it questions. You're like, okay, how does the front end work? What are the most recent changes? How are these things going through? So again, you are more in the driver's seat of the experience as a less technical person, and it's very transparent that whole time. So again, you're not going through, like we talked about with that chasm. You're really able to kind of build a bridge through that, so you have a much better understanding in collaborating, whether again with it's the AI that you're building it yourself, or if you do bring humans into the fold, whether it's like your own team members, you bring in freelancers, you bring in a Codebuddy, you hire a dev team, however you go structure it. Josh, you had a question?
My question was, who can go in and use this software? Is it a monthly price that you guys are offering for, like a single solopreneur use it?
Yeah.
It simultaneously, like different pricing, I would assume, and then like could active like full stack developer use this in their role, like for example, like you did usability testing with my brother. He's a coder.
Yeah.
He used something like this to help him in his role.
Yeah.
Yes to all of the above.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a pay-as-you-go, so you don't have to do any subscription. So it just utilizes your however many AI tokens you use while you're using the program. So if you stop using it because your app is built and it's running great, you don't pay Riot anything. When you're building it and you're using AI to actually build the app, then you're using tokens. You can invite your whole team onto it, so you can be the only person that uses every feature of it, or you can have invite all of your other team members to as well. You can have your less technical people work on the software planning part of it, and you can have your more technical people working on the actual coding section of it, or you can have one person doing the whole thing. Here's a example. You see I made that quick change of like, hello Devon, and he wanted to be able to talk and say, let's see if the microphone works. I want to purchase a trip to Mexico. What card should I use? And then I clicked the start and Capital One Venture got it. I don't even know what that is. So,
yeah, there is a move to piggyback on your previous question. There is a move, moving away from things like per seat licensing, subscription costs into really like value-based pricing or consumption-based pricing. So we really want to make sure that everyone who is, paying for the platform is getting, what they use. They're paying for what they use. So if you're getting into it and that all of a sudden, you're not doing anything, you're not wasting money on a subscription. And comparatively, like if you're actually running like multiple developers in the team and you're using that quite a bit, it's still a fraction of the cost of like a lot of other tools, but your costs will increase proportionally. So we really like that method. You just pay for any time that you're asking the AI to do something, or you ask a human Codebuddy to do something. And then after that, everything's on, it doesn't cost you anything.
One last question.
Okay, sorry. So
Yep.
some of the things we're looking to do is we're looking to be able to fill in the holes of what our current systems look to. Like, for instance, I want to look for the rest of the year for our doctor's schedules where they have non-booked appointments, so open appointments that can be booked. Take a spreadsheet, dump it out of our system. Here's everything that's already booked. Where are the holes that they have open spots? Find those for them.
Yeah.
I mean, is that?
It's doable. The thing is that if you've already got existing software built, that in order to use our system, you just have to either migrate it and rebuild it, or you have to have our system.
It's out of the box, but they don't offer that as an option.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, those are tools.
I was running formulas to find, this, but I'm like.
You could have it really easily build you a CSV uploader or something that would look at their calendar. And if all of this was still too technical, you can do the software planning, you can tell it what you want to do, and then you can have a Codebuddy from our team do the actual
Basically,
implementation.
you're looking for at least a 30-minute block that doesn't have an appointment in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can connect to pretty much anything that is open. So they're like medical has like a lot of silos and stuff to maybe where they don't want you to have any open access to that, and they want to keep it proprietary. Then you have to find certain hacks and things to go around. But even that is still possible. Again, if it has a CSV export feature or something, and you can bring it in. But otherwise, there's like so many different like APIs you can connect to, like Stripes, like we have kind of integrated workflows. Like we've done some really cool stuff with like computer vision. We've done stuff where a guy had a AI model that connected into via SMS. So everything was like text message conversations, and you never actually even downloaded an app. You just texted a number. So yeah, the sky's the limit on what you can connect to.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
well, we've got our cards here, so feel free to reach out to us.
I'm gonna say
So,
we are out
thank
of
you.
time, guys. So if you have any last questions, you can come down. But can we go ahead and give Devon and Tanner a round of applause? This is from Elevator.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you much.
And then really quick, we do have QR codes on the back door there. If you guys would be willing to take a couple minutes to scan.